Welcome to today's episode of the Primordial Azeroth podcast. This part will introduce you to the beginnings of the dragon aspects, the halls of Valor, and the creation of the first Valkyrie. If you haven't heard the previous episodes, you can find a playlist with all episodes of this series in the video description. Let's start today's episode with the departure of the Titans from the planet Azeroth. Satisfied by the diligent efforts of the Guardians and confident in the safekeeping of the slumbering world soul, the Pantheon readied themselves to once again journey into the depths of the Great Dark. The unveiling of Azeroth stood as irrefutable evidence that other nascent Titans could indeed inhabit the vast expanse of the cosmos, reigniting the Titans' fervor to resume their exploratory quest. The custodians grieved the imminent departure of their creators, their hearts swelled with pride, having been entrusted with the esteemed duty of safeguarding Azeroth's destiny. In commemoration of the Pantheon's imminent departure, Loken and Mimiron ingeniously crafted an array of enchanted relics, known as the Discs of Norgannon. These mystical artifacts were destined to chronicle the unfolding tapestry of history across Azeroth. Should the Pantheon ever retrace their cosmic steps, they would find a meticulously transcribed record detailing the events that had transpired during their absence. As a parting gesture, Aman'Thul bestowed upon the celestial observer Algalon the solemn responsibility of serving as the planet's ethereal guardian. The shadow of potential corruption looming over the world soul was an apprehension that the Titans could ill afford to dismiss. Should such a dire scenario materialize, Algalon held the authority to initiate a precise protocol, invoking the Forge of Origination to cleanse the world of its vitality, expunging any taint of corruption that might have taken root. With these last words of guidance, the Pantheon bid their creations, the Titan forged a fond farewell, their forms dissipating into the vast cosmic tapestry of stars. The Titans had exerted every conceivable effort to mend Azeroth's wounds and shepherd the maturation of the world soul. Now, only a vigilant anticipation remained, a collective hope, harbored within the hearts of all, that one day the world soul would stir from its ageless slumber. After the departure of the Pantheon from Azeroth's realm, a plethora of diverse life forms flourished upon the world's surface. Amongst them, the most fierce and cunning were the proto-dragons, inhabitants of the frozen northern reaches of Kalimdor. Possessing an array of strengths and talents, these various proto-dragon species exhibited extraordinary diversity. Some were colossal winged beings of exceptional resilience, intimately linked to the very essence of the world itself. Others unwittingly harnessed the latent elemental energies that infused the newly ordered cosmos. However, amid this diversity, one proto-dragon stood out, eclipsing his kin with his sheer brutality and overwhelming might. He was known as GALAKROND, a titanic proto-dragon whose colossal form darkened Azeroth's skies. His tremendous wings could lay entire forests flat, a testament to his indomitable power. His strength was not his sole advantage, his uncanny cunning made him an unparalleled hunter. As time passed, GALAKROND came to dominate the most coveted hunting grounds in the north of Kalimdor. Driven by an insatiable hunger, he consumed everything in his path, growing even larger in size. However, his voracious appetite remained unquenchable. GALAKROND's hunger grew so dire that he began feasting upon other proto-dragons, even resorting to consuming the deceased. These grim meals eventually tainted his form and mind with a necrotic affliction. Monstrous limbs and numerous eyes sprouted across his immense body, while deathly energies radiated from his mottled hide, reanimating lifeless matter. GALAKROND's victims in turn rose as mindless abominations, bound to his necrotic powers. His army of wretched minions swelled, and together they spread fear across the skies of Kalimdor. Tyr, the mightiest of the keepers, was the first to recognize the looming threat of GALAKROND. He alerted his fellow keepers to the danger, but their motivation to act was lacking. The keepers once committed to protecting the world had been depleted of their collective strength and resolved by the war with the old gods and the reordering of Azeroth. They had become indifferent to the world at large, focused solely on maintaining their vaults and arcane machineries. But Tyr was not deterred by his siblings' apathy. His unwavering commitment to justice and order compelled him to press on. Aware that GALAKROND's unbridled consumption could lead to the devastation of Azeroth's nature, spreading his affliction across the land, Tyr embarked on a quest to vanquish the colossal proto-dragon and his abominable horde. Tyr's solution lay in the alliance of 5 remarkable and brilliant proto-dragons, Alexstrasza, Neltharion, Malygos, Ysera, and Nosdormu. Each hailed from distinct lineages, possessing unique powers. Even the sisters Alexstrasza and Ysera wielded distinct abilities. The determined and benevolent Alexstrasza could summon torrents of fire. The mighty Neltharion wielded immense strength, while his deafening roar shattered bone and rock alike. The cunning Malygos could breathe frost, encasing his adversaries in ice. The wise Nosdormu unleashed blinding storms of coarse sand upon his foes. The elusive Ysera's breath weakened adversaries, inducing a trance-like state. Tyr implored these 5 proto-dragons for aid in thwarting GALAKROND. Though initially suspicious of the enigmatic figure who approached them, the proto-dragons pledged their support. Despite their differences, they displayed a surprising willingness to collaborate. Guided by Tyr, Alexstrasza and her companions clashed with GALAKROND and his fetid followers. The battles raged across the snow-covered peaks and rocky spires of northern Kalimdor. At first, GALAKROND's rugged hide deflected the assaults of the 5 proto-dragons. Undeterred by their adversaries' resilience, Alexstrasza and her allies pinpointed his vulnerabilities. They targeted his multitude of eyes and his tender, exposed gullet. By harmonizing their powers and placing their trust in one another, the 5 proto-dragons overcame their colossal foe. GALAKROND's lifeless form plummeted, crashing into the frozen expanse that would later be known as the Dragonblight. The 5 of proto-dragons had emerged victorious against all odds, a testament to their collaboration. This lesson of unity and cooperation would resonate with Alexstrasza and her compatriots for generations to come. Their legacy would endure, inspiring future ages with the ideal of collective strength and mutual support. While Tyr and the proto-dragons were battling GALAKROND, the other keepers finally emerged from their stupor. Too late they realized the threat that the corrupted monstrosity posed. They were heartened by the resolve of Tyr's winged allies, and ashamed of their own apathy. Tyr, however, never chastised the other keepers. Instead, he convinced them to imbue the 5 proto-dragons with powers so that they could safeguard the lands of Azeroth. Only Keeper Odyn challenged this idea. Though he acknowledged the proto-dragon's heroism, he did not agree that Azeroth's fate should be placed on their shoulders. Odyn saw Alexstrasza and her ilk as primitive life forms. Only the mighty Titan forged could be trusted to protect the world. Odyn argued that as Prime Designate, he had the final decision on how to proceed. Tyr and the other keepers disagreed. Through bravery and self-sacrifice, the proto-dragons had earned the right to act as Azeroth's guardians. Despite Odyn's continued protests, the other keepers moved forward with their plans. After the proto-dragons defeated GALAKROND, the Keepers journeyed to the frozen tundra where the final battle had taken place. Even Ra traveled from the distant south to take part in the great ceremony that was to come. Acting as conduits of their creator's powers, the gathered Keepers bestowed the blessings of the Pantheon upon each proto-dragon. High Keeper Ra channeled the powers of his creator Aman'Thul into the proto-dragon Nozdormu. Of all of Aman'Thul's myriad powers, Nozdormu was blessed with a mastery of time itself. Nozdormu became known as the Timeless One, and he held dominion over the interweaving pathways of fate and destiny. The nurturing and ever-merciful Freya called upon her creator Ionar to empower the proto-dragon Alexstrasza. Known thereafter as the Life-Binder, Alexstrasza would devote everything she was to the stewardship of the living world. Having proved her courage and compassion in the battles against GALAKROND, she was crowned the Dragon Queen and given command over her kind. Freya also beseeched Ionar to bless Alexstrasza's younger sister, the proto-dragon Isra, with nature's influence. Isra was charged with keeping watch over the flowering wilds of Azeroth from within the Emerald Dream. Bound to this ethereal realm, she descended into an endless trance, and became known thereafter as the Dreamer. Keeper Loken called on his creator, Norgannon, to endow the proto-dragon Malygos with incredible arcane powers. Malygos would be known as the Spell Weaver. The limitless realms of magic and hidden arcana would be his to share, explore, and protect. Lastly, Keeper Arcadus asked his creator, Khosgaroth, to bestow some of his vast power upon the indomitable proto-dragon Neltharion. Known afterward as the Earth Warder, Neltharion was given charge over the mountains and deep caverns of the earth. He embodied the strength of the world and served, for many long ages, as Alexstrasza's greatest friend and confidant. Bristling with the Pantheon's energies, the 5 proto-dragons transformed into immense and graceful creatures. Nozdormu's hide took on a bronze hue like a sea of shimmering golden sand. Alexstrasza's scales turned a deep and vivid shade of red. Isra's lithe form became a vibrant green to reflect her new connection with nature. Malygos turned an icy blue color, and his very scales radiated potent arcane energies. Neltharion's rough hide became an earthy black. From that day forward, these 5 extraordinary beings would become known as the Dragon Aspects. The Keepers also sought to create a new species to help the Dragon Aspects protect the world. These beings would serve the Aspects as consorts and allies. To this end, the Keepers magically altered hundreds of proto-dragon eggs. From them would emerge creatures born in the image of the Aspects. This new race, known as dragons, would form 5 distinct flights: bronze, red, green, blue, and black. Though each of these flights would serve a different dragon aspect, they would all be bound by their duty to protect Azeroth. To strengthen this bond, the Keepers forged a grand tower in northern Kalimdor called Wormrest Temple. It would serve as the heart of the dragon's culture, a sanctuary where they could gather and discuss their activities. But above all, Wormrest would stand as a symbol of their unity. The Keepers, satisfied with their work, disappeared back inside their lairs, leaving the Aspects to watch over the living creatures of Azeroth. As the remaining Keepers conducted their empowering ceremony for the Dragon Aspects, Odyn brooded within Uldur's halls. His fury burned for his allies' defiance of his prime designate role. Moreover, he held firm in his belief that the Dragon Aspects would falter in their duty to protect the world. For the good of Azeroth, Odyn decided to take matters into his own hands. He would create an elite army of his design, one that he could call on to protect the world should the need ever arise. To fill the ranks of this fighting force, Odyn would look to the mighty Vrykul. He had always admired their innate courage and strength. He saw the Vrykul, above all other Titan forged, as the perfect expression of the warrior spirit. Upon returning to Ulduar, Tyr and the other keepers demanded that Odyn abandon his foolish plans. Their words had no effect on the Prime Designate. Odyn was single-minded in his focus and unbending in his ideas of what was right. He invited the other keepers to help him create his army. When none stepped forward to join his cause, Odyn announced he would pursue his quest without them. Odyn secured one of Ulduar's wings to act as the base for his new army. To permanently separate it from the rest of the fortress and from the other keepers, he called on the Titan-forged sorceress Hela. Over the ages, Odyn had come to see her as his adopted daughter. Hela wove a great spell to encase the keeper's stronghold. Then, focusing all of her power, she ripped the colossal chunk of Ulduar from the earth and lifted it into the cloudy skies. In time, this floating citadel would become known as the Halls of Valor. From atop his fortress, Odyn bellowed out a proclamation to all Vrykul. Those who demonstrated bravery by perishing gloriously in combat would find renewed existence within the Halls of Valor. Their spirits would be transported to the citadel, where they would be bestowed with mighty storm-forged bodies. These champions, these Valajar, would serve as Azeroth's foremost guardians. Their deeds would live on in the hearts of all Titan forged forever after. Only the means to ferry deceased spirits to the Halls of Valor remained. Odyn turned his study to the energies permeating the Shadowlands. His newfound knowledge enabled him to transform select Vrykul into spectral beings known as Valkyr. These ethereal servants would traverse between the realms, guiding worthy Vrykul souls to their new home. Becoming Valkyr would condemn these individuals to an eternity as phantom entities. No Vrykul willingly volunteered for the somber role of Valkyr, leading Odyn to enforce his will. Hela admonished Odyn, denouncing his inclination to coerce the Titan forged into unwilling servitude. The dispute escalated to the brink of violence, with the two nearly clashing. Ultimately, Hela warned she would return the Halls of Valor to Ulduar unless Odyn relented. Odyn, blinded by his aspirations for the Halls of Valor, perceived Hela's defiance as a threat to Azeroth's safety. He lashed out at the sorceress, shattering her physical form and distorting her spirit into the first Valkyr. Hela's cries reverberated across Azeroth and pierced the very heart of the Shadowlands. This violent metamorphosis forever stained Hela, but her suffering had not reached its conclusion. Despite her resentment towards Odyn, she was compelled to obey his commands. Under his directive, she set about transforming reluctant Vrykul into cursed Valkyr. Over time, Hela and her Valkyr brethren conveyed heroic Vrykul souls to the Halls of Valor, filling the citadel with storm-infused Valajar. Odyn trained and empowered these warriors, harboring no remorse for departing from the other keeper's path or for twisting Hela into the first Valkyr. In Odyn's unwavering conviction, all his actions were in the name of Azeroth's safety and the honor of the great Pantheon. Thank you for listening to this episode until the end. I would greatly appreciate it if you could take a moment to give me feedback on the episode in the form of comments, likes or dislikes. If you like my videos and haven't already, please consider subscribing to my channel and turning on the bell. With this, I would like to say goodbye to you, and I will look forward to seeing you in the next episode.